From the moment he stepped foot in the NBA, Joel Embiid has been a lightning rod for hate for a variety of different reasons. From his unique pathway coming from the process to his elite play style and unapologetic way that he carries himself, Joel Embiid has not been shy about ruffling a few feathers in the process of becoming one of the best players in the world. But I'm here to break down why we have reached the tipping point, why the hate for Joel Embiid has become far too strong, and why one of the all-time great talents is ultimately going to go down as one of the more underappreciated players of this entire generation. I want to talk about what fired me up to get on and hop on this mic, a couple lists that are not giving Joel Embiid the love that he deserves, and why I hope that Joel is reading each of these, reading the fine print right in front of his face, and being ready to return with a vengeance this year. So let's get right into it. I'm going to start out with this ESPN top 10 players in the NBA, and they rank it Nikola Jokic number 1, Luka Doncic number 2, Giannis Antetokounmpo number 3, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander number 4, 5 Jason Tatum, 6 Steph Curry, 7 LeBron James, and 8 Joel Embiid. Yes, that Joel Embiid, that one MVP not that long ago, 2 years ago, that Joel Embiid that has led the league in scoring 3 straight seasons, even though I know there's the asterisk next to last year because he did not play enough games. The dude coming off a season in which he averaged a career high in points and assists, 34.7 points per game, 11 rebounds, 5.6 assists, 1.7 blocks, 1.2 steals, shot a ridiculous 52.9% from the field, 38.8% from 3. Oh, and let's not forget 57.1% from the corner there. That he has been every bit of this talent. He's improved on his game every single year that he has come in the league, and he's a guy that is better than anyone that you want to line him up against. Everyone's better than Joel Embiid until it's time to be better than Joel Embiid. I dare any single one of these 7 in front of him to come in and play this man because we've seen how this goes. Now, I know he's not perfect. There's things you can nitpick. Stylistically, he doesn't have to be your cup of tea. I understand the playoff concerns, while they're overstated, are still going to be there, that you got to get past the second round, and these are things that need to happen still in his career. But I still think for the body of work that he has produced, we're being a little bit disrespectful to the man here. And that only further increased when I saw another list floating around. So shout out to, I believe, Jason Timpf is how you say his name. I actually am a fan and have listened to quite a few of his podcasts and video breakdowns. I do think in general he does a really nice job with these, but it is clear that he falls into this Joel Embiid, I guess, hater category there. I wouldn't go as far as to call him directly a hater. There's certainly guys far worse than Jason here, but he did launch out his top 10 players in the NBA list, and our guy Joel Embiid is not even on it here. Now, he lays out his list here. It says Nikola Jokic number 1, Luka Doncic number 2, Giannis 3, SGA 4, Anthony Edwards 5, which is absurd to me. I like Ant, but 5 in the NBA is wild. Anthony Davis 6, which is even crazier to me. Jason Tatum at 7, LeBron James at 8, Kevin Durant at 9, and Steph Curry at 10. Yeah, I don't agree with just about any of this list, and I do find it outright offensive that Joel Embiid is not on it. And once again, just for a reminder of everyone in the back, these are what these stats are this season. These are not narratives. This is not me making the case. These are the fact of the matter of what this guy produced last year. And if we want to look on a wider view here, that yes, this really happens year in and year out. That the past 2 seasons, him winning MVP last year, leading the league in scoring these 2 seasons before that, been over 30 points per game each of those seasons. You can look at the numbers. The numbers do not lie here. Now, Jason, rightfully so, caught some heat in the comments about it, so he did want to clarify. And he said, my criteria, who would you start your franchise with to lead you through the upcoming campaign from October to potentially June? These are the factors I weighed heavily. Availability, 1. Does your game translate to the playoffs? 2. And 3, how easy is it to build around you? And those are the reasons that Joel Embiid is off the list. Now, I'll start by saying here, the availability thing, I just outright disagree with and fundamentally have an issue with this, that availability is not the best ability. The best ability is ability. Paul Reed played 82 games last year. You want to look me in the eye and tell me Paul Reed's a better basketball player than Joel Embiid? You just can't. That's kind of the situation here. That I'll take a guy with Joel Embiid. We know his flaws. We know he's not going to be able to play back-to-backs. We know there's going to be a conscious management plan to give him the best shot at having a healthy playoff run. But if that works, it likely equates in a championship. That's the level of special talent that he is. Kawhi Leonard, a guy who isn't on this list, and Kawhi's a whole separate issue, even deeper injury issues than Joel specifically, but he's a guy who I think fits into a similar category here, that there's no doubt about the caliber of talent he is. It's about his physical level. And with Kawhi specifically, we've seen it work, that he did get that one healthy playoff run, and what did it result in? Unfortunately, we remember all too familiar here in Philadelphia from those millions of bounces on the rim that it felt like here. Now, Jason was asked directly about the Joel Embiid thing, so I did want to acknowledge this from him, and he says, so for those wondering why Embiid slid to 11, it's pretty simple. He's probably the least available star in this tier. His track record is that of a player who struggles to get his success to translate in the playoffs, and he pretty much ties you to one play style on both ends, which makes him harder to build around than most stars. His ceiling is top 5, but in this particular criteria, he slips to 11. And a couple things I want to correct here. I'll start with his ceiling is not top 5. His ceiling is 1. That's when he's playing his best basketball, that he's the best player on earth, and he has hit that stretch at various portions of his career. Now, on these specific criteria here, he's probably the least available star in his tier. I'll give him a slight pass on the Anthony Davis stuff because AD was incredibly healthy last year. Although if you want to widen this up to since 2020, Joel has played more games than Anthony Davis during that portion of time, but I know you can kind of manipulate that in a lot of ways here. His track record of a player who struggles to get his success to translate in the playoffs. What were Joel Embiid's numbers in that Knicks series here? Oh, I happen to have them here. 33 points per game, the most of any player in the NBA in the playoffs last year. By the way, this is Joel Embiid on one leg and with half a face. He averaged 33 points per game, 10.8 assists or 10.8 rebounds, 5.7 assists, 1.5 blocks, and 1.2 steals. Those are damn good numbers. Those are better numbers than you're going to get from anyone on this list in front of me. And the biggest thing that I did want to circle back to is this is what makes Joel Embiid unique. Name me one player on this list who is the most important player on their team on both the offensive end of the floor and the defensive end of the floor. The only guy who I think has a case is Giannis, but I do think that they defend so differently, with Giannis so much more of a free safety in the defense, that he's kind of cleaning up others' mistakes, blocking shots there. Joel's much more of like the captain of the defense, where he's, ordering people around, being the guy that are toes in the paint, blocking shots, kind of orchestrating the entire defensive alignment there. That's not quite what Giannis does. Jokic, absolutely not the most important defender. Probably the 5th most important defender on the floor whenever he is on it. Luka Doncic, same category that he falls in there, that you're never going to get him mixed up in the all-defense conversation, as I fully expect to hear Joel Embiid's name mixed in this year. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Anthony Edwards, very good defenders, but I personally just find it a different tier when you're talking about a big man defender who holds so much team responsibility versus a wing who kind of you get your job is to lock up your guy. Anthony Edwards and Shai are both excellent defenders, but they're excellent in their niche role there. I do think ultimately the big man is the most important area in the defense, and that's why I do give more credit to guys like Joel and particularly Anthony Davis, who I've been a pretty anti-Anthony Davis guy throughout my basketball watching career. I thought he had an excellent year last year, one of the best of his career, and I do think he was very important to this team. I would not have him on this top 10 list with that being said here, but regardless, to move on, Jason Tatum, is he the most important player on both ends of the floor? No, I would argue not on either end there with this guy here. Now, Jason Tatum is very good. I don't want to diminish him completely. I think at times the takes come too heavily on him, but I also think that if you were to directly take Jason Tatum off that Celtics team in the NBA Finals, they still probably win the championship. And that to me, then we're not talking about the most valuable or the best players or however you want to phrase this list to make it fit your criteria here. Kevin Durant and Steph Curry. Steph Curry, another guy that you will never find mixed up in the defensive player of the year conversation, although he has come a long way from when he used to be able to be picked on that end of the floor. And Kevin Durant can lock up, but I just think he's past the point where he falls a little bit more in that category of wing-oriented player, but ultimately, he still plays a little bit of big man. I like Kevin Durant. I'm not going to be hard on Kevin Durant, but I do think, just unfair to hold him in the same category here. Now, the last points that I did want to note on is the excuses have run out for Joel Embiid, that it does have to happen this year. There simply has to be deeper playoff success for me to be able to stand up here, pound the table, and believe in the big fella. And I do think that will be the case. And another reason that I did want to add is this ESPN list did not forget about the other 2 stars on the Sixers team. Tyrese Maxey coming in on the list at 19th and Paul George at 21st. I was a bit surprised to see Tyrese above Paul George on kind of the national conversation. I think that's accurate. I think Tyrese is a better player already at this point in his career, but I didn't really expect that to be the national perception there. And if I'm being completely honest, I probably would argue both guys up a little bit on this list. I think Maxey's better than Bam as a basketball player. I might even go Paul George better than Bam too. There's a lot that I can nitpick. The bottom line being that I do like that both these guys are getting a little bit of their shine, but it is Joel Embiid that is being discredited. So as much as I'm excited about all the new talent on this team, Tyrese Maxey, coming back for another season of growth. Paul George coming to the team, Caleb Martin, Andre Drummond, Gershon Yabusele. You can name all these guys on the list. The bottom line is it does come down to Joel Embiid. It is about this guy playing his best basketball when the time is right. Now, I think he has a much more malleable style than he gets credit. I think Nick Nurse will further unlock that this year. There's a lot to look forward to and a lot to go down with this team, but I do hope that Joel is just taking notes. We know what a Twitter troll he is. We know how he is one of the more active online athletes that are out there. I hope he's reading all this, hearing all this, and ready for his redemption run, because it just takes one to etch your name in history in a different way. If we're talking about one ring on Joel Embiid's finger there, we're talking about him in a completely different light. Think about Giannis. Think about what the talking points about Giannis would be if he did not have that championship. This is a dude who has lost some really bad playoff series. We're talking upset, getting swept, all these types of things that he's had these massive failures, not these steps to success as he claims. Imagine Nikola Jokic if he did not have that ring on his finger. We're talking about him quite differently as well. Everyone is a loser until you're not. If Joel Embiid wins one, the talking points turn completely different, and we're locking him in for that best player in the entire NBA role. I want to see it this year. The excuses are out the window, but I cannot wait to see it all go down on the floor. So on each and every one of you guys rocking with me right here on Sixers Digest, if you have not already, make sure you smash that subscribe button, drop a like on this video here, and any comments you have below. I'll be talking with you next time and be with you from start to finish this season. Peace.